Welcome to What's Best Forum's Masters and Makers interview series. If you enjoy this video, please kindly click like and subscribe to the What's Best Forum YouTube channel. Today we are meeting Dave Gordon, Brand Director at Audio Research Corporation. Good morning there, Dave.
Good morning, Ron.
What are your responsibilities as Brand Director?
Well, I am foremost the ambassador for the company. I attend all the major functions. I deal with the press. I deal with distributors, with dealers. I write a lot of the copy for our press releases. I work with social media. I oversee photo shoots, things like that. It's a little bit of everything.
What does Warren Giel do? Is he still working there with you?
Warren is our ears. So he still listens to every new piece and every service piece before it goes out. And just to make sure everything is working properly. What we've just figured out over the years, well, actually built from day one, was that we can hear things we can't measure. Unfortunately, engineering is getting better at that by the year, but we can still pick up things that are wrong that measure fine on the bench. So it's really important for us to listen to everything. And Warren also kind of keeps us on the rails because he listens to every service piece in addition to every new piece. And that's really, really important. I mean, he knows what an SP6B sounds like, or a D79, things like that. And that is really hard. I couldn't do that job. And it's repetitive listening. He has very good, consistent listening from day to day, and he has great oral memory. So when we're developing a new product, he will listen. Actually, a few of us listen, but Warren makes sure that we're going in the right direction. And if he doesn't like something, he'll bring us in and play it for us. Because this has to be repeatable also.
I understand you've recently hired one or two new engineers. Who are they and what are their job responsibilities?
Actually, we've hired a bunch of new engineers. One of them actually approached Valerio, our owner, about coming on board. He's in California and worked for a company that deals with satellites in the U.S. space program. He knows tubes. He's designed recording studios, and so he's a brilliant tube guy, and he really wanted to work for us when he heard that Valerio bought the company. We hired a young engineer to do all of our programming. We've hired 3 other design engineers, one in solid state and 2 in other products, and they are very familiar with tubes. We also have a new board person, and he just lays out boards. He came from a high-tech industry. He was doing board designs that you can actually bend and put in a shipping tube. You know, you could have the design, but doing the layout is a big part of it. We keep adding, and that's where most of the growth has come from.
Who is your chief design engineer now?
It's probably Dylan Wall. Dylan is a really brainy tube guy. He's great. He's just fun to work with. He understands the circuits. He understands our history, which is really important. He knows where we've been and where we're going. He understands what our sound is like. He can listen. He can hear as well as any of us. And that's one of the things we've always done, is always had engineers who were part of the listening process so they could understand. Sometimes they shake their heads because things shouldn't make a difference and they do. And sometimes they don't make a difference when you think they should, but at least they can sit with us and listen. That's really, really important.
How many people approximately are working at Audio Research now?
30, 31.
How do you describe Audio Research's sonic philosophy? What are you trying to achieve when you install a suite of your electronics in front of loudspeakers in your client's home?
2 things. Involvement. It has to be musically involving. It has to draw you in. I've always said that no rational person wants to buy a tube product. Why would you buy anything that's going to require maintenance down the road? It has to be compelling. It has to draw you in, make you want to listen more. You have to have that aha moment. And it's also simply a matter of transparency and suspending belief. You know, you have to want to go home and listen to your hi-fi with Audio Research. You know, Bill founded the company on live music. He was a pianist. We had season tickets for the Minnesota Orchestra and for every week, and he had multiple tickets, so we'd all go. He wanted people to be exposed to that, to have a true reference point. You know, we can't do that. We can't reproduce the live music perfectly at home, but we want to get as close as possible. And for Bill with tubes, especially 54 years ago when he founded the company, was they had to have very wide bandwidth. People think of tubes as being soft and rolled off, a little, really pleasant. If you want to make that system more listenable, just get yourself a nice tube preamp. That was not Bill's idea. A reference 6 preamp. It's flat at 200,000 hertz. It's flat down to 0.4 hertz. So wide bandwidth and also really great dynamics, because it's dynamics that make music come alive, micro and macro dynamics. The key is when you do all these things right, and design a vacuum tube product properly, particularly, it will just involve you.
Some manufacturers in the industry, whether loudspeaker designers or electronics designers, have as a philosophy to seek ever greater resolution, the recovery of ever more detail from recordings, ever lower noise floors, ever blacker black backgrounds. Is
Right.
that how you think about things, or it sounds like you have a different sonic compass?
Oh, no, no. I mean, those things are really important. Audiophiles, and I'll say audiophiles because they've been reading these descriptions forever. If you say to someone with a new product, it's more transparent, they can cringe sometimes because they go, oh, well, transparency means it's brighter. No, no, no. Transparency is clarity. It's an immediacy. Resolution is important. I mean, when we hear live music, it is the ultimate resolution. We're hearing all the information that's there. We want to get as much of that back as possible. When you talk about a black background, I make the analogy for people that it's like looking at the stars. If you're in a city, you have all this light wash and you can't pick things out. When you go out to the country and you have low light, the stars come alive. Everything explodes in front of you. And that's the point with music. Music has to emanate from a black background. So those points are very, very important.
When I go to Walt Disney Concert Hall and
Mhm.
I'm sitting in the audience, the microphone, surely being up close to the performance, is hearing a lot of detail, but I'm not
Right,
necessarily hearing in the audience the
right,
level of detail the microphone is hearing. So that's why
right.
I'm asking, is more and more detail always a good thing?
The key is, where do you stop with resolution? We've gone far enough. No, we haven't. That's the whole point with speakers and electronics and cabling and everything. This is a lossy business we're in. We're losing information everywhere. So I think maximum extraction is really important, but there are also two parts, truth and beauty. Can you have truth and beauty? You want that ultimate resolution. You want all the details. You want everything laid out in front of you. But how about the beauty? Getting that tonal richness, that body, that loveliness that's inherent in music. That's there. Let's extract that too. There's a lot of equipment out there that will extract just the facts, ma'am. You get everything there, but it's not fun to listen to because I think you're missing the other half. You're missing the richness, the tonal richness, the body, the air. That magic is just simply not there. And we're trying to get the magic back while being faithful at the same time. And it's kind of been a big balancing act for years. How do you get both?
The Ref 10 Phono and the Ref 10 Line Stage and the Ref 750 have all been
Right.
around for 10 years or more now. Do you have
Right.
plans to update each of these flagship components?
Yes, we will. I mean, everything will change over time. The question is when. We have updated the reference 6 to the 6SE, 28, different products. We tried to do it with the reference 10. We thought it's a natural. An SE version or a Mark II is simply a version that's updatable. It's not a major circuit change, but you're changing everything around it. Now, with the 6 to the SE, the Phono 3 to the SE, the differences were easily heard. I mean, they were immediate. So we thought we'll just do that with the Ref 10 and the Ref Phono 10, and it didn't work. What some people don't understand, and especially modifiers, is that you can put in better caps, or you can put in better wire, or you can put in better resistors, whatever it may be, and you hear more things going on, but you destroy the balance. What I'll call, for an overused word, gestalt. It's just there's this rightness that's there that you lose. So we decided to back off. We think, frankly, would have sold a lot. We would have updated a lot of units, but that's not the point. It has to be better in every way, and it has to be immediate. It can't just be different. Different's not enough. It's easy to make different in our industry.
Let's turn to the 330M, the new amplifier. The 160M Mark II front end uses a transistor input and a transistor buffer. The
Mhm.
330M substitutes the transistor in the input for a tube input. Why
Right.
the change in circuit design, and what does the new tube input, how does it change the sound?
The Ref 330M, all gain is accomplished by tubes throughout. And we haven't done that for a very long time. We were just experimenting. We wanted a little more gain at the front end. You lose maybe a little bit. The question is how much, noise do you lose by substituting a FET with a tube? And we're using an ECC 83, which is a 12AX7 and a 6H30 now. So it sounded better. We got the gain we wanted. You have to look at the entire circuit. It wasn't just let's put a tube there and see what we get. It was really an effort, I believe, to adjust the gain of the circuit.
How do you feel that changed the sound?
The original idea with this was simply to have a more powerful version of the 160M Mark II. It ended up being a lot more ambitious, and Valerio was really pushing that, which was great because what we needed to get to the next step really was more engineering, and that's where we were lacking before. And so we tried different things. The 330M is simply the best amplifier we've ever made. It's more transparent. It's more immediate. It plays an incredibly wide but deep and very uniform stage. It has a visceral quality to it. We wanted to make this amplifier, especially being 330 watts, we needed this design to get to that point. In the previous design, we were, somewhere around 275 maybe per channel. And this way we got up to 330. We designed it to drive really low impedance loads better and very difficult loads better. Because if you take a lot of the best speakers these days, they may drop down to 1.6 ohms in the bass frequencies, things like that. So the 330M was designed, actually puts out more power in the bass than a Ref 750 does. So we wanted that sense of dynamics and life. And so on balance, I mean, it just does everything better. Also, with things we've used in the past, we're also able to put in new technologies that came in with the reference amps, like using a 4-layer circuit board, which we didn't have before. So you can lay the ground planes out differently, and you can really adjust the sound much, much better in an analog domain than we could before.
On the output side, the 160M Mark II uses a tube as a driver, and now in the 330M you're using a field effect transistor as a driver. Why that change in circuit design, and how does that change the sound?
It allows us to have individual bias on every tube. We just want to be able to control each tube rather than in pairs. And with the FET, it's just so consistent. And I think it ended up being a little more transparent with that.
What is the change in the design that has allowed the amplifier to be stronger in the bass that you think makes it even more controlling in the bass than the 750?
The key is bandwidth. When you look at measurement for a lot of amplifiers, they'll say it's 250 watts at 1K. What is it doing at 50 hertz or 100 hertz? This amplifier, even again more so than the 750, this thing will be much wider bandwidth, even higher power at, let's say, 30 hertz than a Ref 750 will.
What is the part of the design that's causing that additional power?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know that's where my engineering ends.
What was the sonic motivation behind the 330M? You have the 160M Mark II. If that was not your idea of the perfect sounding amplifier, of course you wanted more power in the 330M. What change in sound were you aiming for moving to the 330M that you were newly designing?
Well, there are people who simply wanted more power. The 160M, although it's number 160, it's 140 to 150 watts, per channel. And there are people who simply need a lot more power. You take a big pair of Magicos, for example, and they need more power than that. We wanted more power. We wanted more control. We actually had people said, look, I'm willing to spend more if you'll give me the power I need and the sound I want. So we couldn't do that before. I mean, the 750 is a fabulous amplifier, but there are 32 output tubes in this pair of amplifiers. There's 16 outputs per amp. They're not individually biased, and you're slaving a lot of tubes off a master tube. So everything really has to work correctly. And it's frankly, like sitting around the campfire. They put off an awful lot of heat. With the 330M, we thought we could build a better amplifier, period. And we think the 330M is better. It's a matter of power, and it was a matter of just getting it where we wanted it sonically. You can always make things better if you, depends how much money you want to throw at it. With this, we were able to put in new transformers. We have new things like a choke in there that, that really we were able to get noise down and ripple down, it measures better, and it sounds better.
Why did you decide to make the 330M pentode mode only and not also switchable to triode?
It sounded better that way. Pentode is simply the way it sounds best. We're not giving people an option.
Let's say you're using Wilson Audio Alex V speakers or a Cora VRC, whatever you personally are most familiar with. You're listening to these speakers with the 160M Mark II, and then you put on the new 330Ms. What do you hear differently?
It's the cliched, it's cleaning that window or taking the window out. You're just hearing so much more going on. You can hear resolution of fine details. I can hear things with this amp that I simply never heard before through any system. So resolution is a big part of it, but there's a richness and a vitality. And again, there's kind of an immediacy. When we're in a mall and we hear a piano being played, we know it's a live piano. Or it's amplified. It's kind of the same thing with this. There's that aliveness that you get with the 330M. When we were in Munich, Brandon, who was running the system, played Fanfare for the Common Man, Copeland. And there's this big bass whack. It was amazing how it exploded and how it rolled. And actually, it was recorded in our orchestra hall. So we know the sound of that hall. It just sounded more alive than anything else. And this is not a subtle thing. When we talk about differences, I'd say it can't tickle you on the chin. It should slap you in the face, because the reality is these products are expensive. And if you're asking someone to spend a lot more money, it has to be immediately better. Not different, just better.
Is this new amplifier a make or break product for you and Valerio in your view?
No, I don't think so at all. The reality is we showed this product 2 years ago as a 320M in Munich. And, we've been slow introducing new products over the last few years. Part of that was the problem. We simply didn't have enough engineering horsepower to really move along like we did in the old days. We got the big dog out. This is the beast, and this is the toughest thing. We're going to do a lot more products in other categories. Getting this over the line was important. It proved to people that we are here.
How is the i50 integrated doing?
It's doing all right. It's not doing as well as we expected it to. I mean, everyone who hears it loves it. That's not the issue. I lived with one at home for probably 8 months and was very happy on a daily basis. The thing is that it was never promoted. All the dealers knew about it, the distributors knew about it, the ARC followers knew about it, but the public didn't know about it. The problem was we spent about $5,000 in marketing in 2022. You don't want to do it just through reviews. That's not the point. I want people to know about a product and want to go in and listen to it. And that's how you sell it. The more people find out, the better it does.
Why in the 330M did you switch from the KT150 output tube to the KT170?
We got the KT170s in when they first came out, I think about 3 years ago. We put them in our products and we were excited because this is the new tongue saw, the new top tube, and it just didn't sound right. And the key is they have different electrical requirements, and we discovered you need to design around that tube. So we thought with the 330, we actually built out an amplifier which had 150s in there, and we had one with 170s in there, and each one was properly set up. And at that point, you could really tell the difference. And we liked what the 170s were doing better than the 150s. So we decided to make that jump. And that's hard because it's a brand new tube.
Will all audio research amps gradually migrate to KT170?
No, not sure if they will. The key is the design of the amplifier, how the tube works in that circuit. We can't just do a 160 Mark III and have the tube work. It has to be an all-new circuit.
Are you going to continue to manufacture the Ref 750 SE?
We will, as long as there's demand for it. It's available by special order only.
What are your plans on the digital side? Will you be releasing a new DAC?
Yes, yeah, we'll have a new DAC. What we've done with DACs in recent years, with the DAC 9, is we have a hybrid DAC. It has basically one of our line stage analog sections, and it sounds very, very good. It's also getting pretty old, so we will have something new in the future. We don't build or design things necessarily that we want, which sounds funny, but it's what our dealers and distributors want, what consumers want. So if they want a headphone amp, fine, we can do that.
Are they asking you to make something like a streamer?
Yes, they have. Streamers have scared us simply because they've scared me anyway, because a lot of the problems people have with streamers is frankly with their network, and they blame the streamer. The key is not just having the product, but being able to support it. So if we don't have someone on the phone who can answer and get things squared away, we're not going to do it. So I think we'll do a streamer in the future because everything has gotten better. It's gotten more foolproof, and there are really some great companies to work with.
Now that the 330M is out, what's the next new product we should expect from Audio Research?
Can't tell you. No, it's
I won't tell anybody.
no. Well, we're working on a few different things, and we're working on a DAC. We're going to be working on integrated amplifiers. We'll actually have some new entry-level products. So that's really important. So we want to go with both extremes. We have 330s at one end, and we'll have entry-level at another.
Dave, this has been great. Thanks so much for taking the time.
My pleasure, Ron. It's good talking with you.